And we are, as a people, inherently and historically
Wake up.
opposed to secret societies, the secret oath, and the secret proceedings.
The show that asks questions about why we don't ask questions.
What the hell is going on?
This is Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. Welcome to Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. I'm Alan Park. These are Conspiracy Queries, and that's what you're listening to right now. So we've got a fantastic situation happening here. We had a really nice year last year, 2013. The podcast now has been named one of the best of 2013, one of the best new podcasts of 2013. You can catch us over there on iTunes. So that was pretty exciting, and commensurate with that, guess what? Some of our guests have asked to come back on, and we've already done that with a couple, and we're going to do that again today with the former governor of Minnesota and terror to the establishment. Jesse Ventura will be on the show, broadcasting and coming to us from Mexico, where he spends a lot of his time now. Jesse Ventura. So he's half the time in Minnesota, half the time in Mexico. Maybe he's going to run for president. Maybe he's not. He's very cagey about that kind of thing. But he does rely on a team of people to help him with things. And when you hear a little more about that in our conversation, I think you'll understand why I felt a little jealous. I mean, the guy has a team of people doing everything for him. He says, I don't know how the internet works. I've got people doing that for me. I was like, well, that sounds fantastic. So Jesse will be on. And what else is happening? There are some Olympics going on in Russia. And don't be gay while you watch them, according to the Russian leader, Putin, the shirtless horse lover. We'll be right back with Conspiracy Queries. Stay tuned. It's Jesse Ventura. Hello, is this the governor?
Yes, it is.
Hey, it's Alan Park calling in freezing cold Toronto. How are you today?
Good, Alan. How are you? Is it freezing cold in Toronto?
Oh, yeah. It's Minnesota kind of thing.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Where are you right now?
I'm down in Mexico.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to hear any more about that.
Yeah, no, I'm in Mexico.
Yeah, I believe you. I know. I wish I was as warm as you. Well, welcome back to the show. We had you on in November. We were talking about your book. They killed our president, of course, President Kennedy. A great show, a lot of good response. And you are now, we're having you on today, the governor, to talk about your broadcasting venture from Mexico on Aura TV. Tell us, what is that? Whose idea was that? How did you get involved?
Well, I'm kind of censored now up in the United States somewhat. Certain topics, if you talk about them and question them, you draw that kind of ire from the government or whoever the corporate mainstream media, whoever it might be. So I have quite of a difficult time getting interviews now. And I had the contract where I was supposed to be on MSNBC, and because I opposed the war in Iraq, they wouldn't put me on, and they also cut Phil Donahue at the time and wouldn't put him on, and he was their highest rated show because Phil also opposed the Iraq war right before the invasion of it.
That's a great clip.
Well, it's the truth, and so I never got on, and so I really, and then I was under a 3-year contract where I couldn't do anything on cable or any news shows whatsoever. So essentially, I was silenced in its own weird way, and so then of course I came out with, I continued to write books, and I would do interviews that way on book tours and all that. And then, of course, I did the Conspiracy Theory show on True TV for 3 years. And while I was doing a book tour, I did Larry King. And I thought Larry had retired from CNN when he left CNN, but it turns out no. He told me I'm on the internet now, and I'm with Aura.tv, and he said, this is where you need to be. And so I spoke with the Aura people, and we started talking, and concepts started flying, and things started happening, and they came forward with a contract, and my attorney and I went through it, and we worked it all out. And one of the problems I stated to them was that I live off the grid for around 4 to 5 months out of every year for sure. And they said that won't be a problem. And from that point, we decided to make that the show, is the fact that I am off the grid. What off the grid means is that I live an hour from pavement and an hour from electricity. Now, I have electricity. I have the same electrical use everyone else does. It's just that where I'm at, it's completely solar. So I'm not dependent upon any government. I'm not dependent upon any corporation per se, other than those that make, and you purchase the solar equipment to go solar, which is what I do off the grid. I'm completely independent, and I also feel that the way that I've been more or less censored up in the United States. And as I watch things this whole last decade going on up there, it reminds me a great deal of East Berlin. And so part of my show is, for 20 years now, I've been on the inside looking out, trying to convince people. Now I'm trying a new technique from the outside looking in. The perception outside looking back into the country. And so that's the fun we have with it. And we shoot from various locations, and I like to have fun stating that the drones will never find me.
Well, that's just you living down there, right? I mean, Larry King's not living in Mexico, is he?
Larry just happened to be working for this company. He left CNN to work for this company, and it was through Larry introducing me or Larry interviewing me on one of my books. And he was now with Aura.tv, and he basically said, this is where you need to be, and lo and behold, now I am. But our shows are, Larry King is in the United States. He's doing what Larry King always does, interviews people, and I consider him probably the best interview guy in the world. And that's what he does. He interviews people. But my show is completely different. My show is down here. It's off the grid. It's much more, on the internet you only do 8 to 12 minutes because that's the way it works on the internet. That's the longest you'll keep people on the internet. So I can pump shows out fairly quickly. I view doing these shows as like simply doing a 10-minute wrestling interview.
Right. Now, we can see this on YouTube, of course, at youtube.com/Jesse Ventura, but we're also able to see it on auratv.com, or no, it's aura.tv. Is that right?
Yeah, aura.tv, or you can just go to Jesse Ventura off the grid.
Right, and there it is. Okay, so when does the show air?
That'll pull it up, too. It airs Eastern 3 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, but like anything on the internet, you can pull it up anytime you want. That's the remarkable thing about the internet. You watch it at your convenience, not at a station's convenience.
Yeah, that's for sure. So that's great. A little potential mishap for you of being off the grid turned into an entire show, an adventure.
Well, it's not a mishap. I choose to live off the grid. I choose this lifestyle completely different than what I live in the United States. And I'll tell you this, with this show happening, my chances of going back to the United States are becoming slim to none.
Okay, well, let's jump to the chase then and see how you're doing with the presidential bid. I heard that you were interested only if you could get your name on every state's ballot, which makes a lot of sense. But how is that looking now?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just simply made the statement. I'm not out there actively seeking to run for president. A lot of people seem to want me to. And I said, well, in order for me to do that, I would only do it as an independent, and I would do it with no political party. Well, that would require, and I just explained, it would require a grassroots movement in all 50 states to put Jesse Ventura's name on the ballot. And all 50 states are different because that's the way the rules are set up. That's what makes it so difficult. And all I did was say that's what it would take. Am I running? No. I have no organization. I'm not sitting here organizing right now and looking to where we can raise money and do this and do that and exploratory this. No. They just simply said, what would it take to get you to run for president? And I said it would take two things. It would take having my name, having ballot access in all 50 states, which would require a grassroots movement for somebody to take it on. See, one of the things, I do things differently. When I ran for governor of Minnesota, we only had one paid person on my entire election, people. And that was my chief of staff that ran the whole thing because he left his private sector job and devoted full time to it. So we paid him the equivalent of what he was getting paid in the private sector. And other than that, nobody that worked on my governor's campaign was paid. And that's the way it would have to stay, because that's the way I keep my integrity. And so it would require a grassroots movement for people in all 50 states to organize and get my name on the ballot. When I see my name is on the ballot in all 50 states, then through the same movement, they would have to insist that I be included in the debates.
Yeah.
Because if you're not allowed in the debates, you have no chance of winning. But I think with the record that I have and people knowing that if I'm allowed to debate, I generally win. I haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
And I'm 2-0. So that's what it would take. Am I seeking? No, I'm living outside the country. I'm an expatriate right now who's choosing to live south of the border. I like the weather a whole lot better. I like the lifestyle for this point in my life. The adventure of it is tremendous. And I'm happy as hell. Larry King even said to me, Governor, you wouldn't really want to come to that life and be the president up here, would you? And I said, no, Larry, I probably wouldn't, but it always echoes in the back of your mind, and it gravitates to me a great deal. If not me, then who?
Right.
If you follow what I'm saying.
You're shown to be incorruptible over the years, and I'm excited to think that it could happen. I'm a little doubtful that it will happen, but...
Well, again, I'm not actively seeking it, but it's well ahead of time. You know, it's only 2014, and if the next year it's reported to me that I have ballot access in all 50 states, well, then my interest might peak some more, and I could get very actively involved in it at that point.
Yeah,
I could. But that's what it'll take, because I'm not going to run around and I'm not going to try to build an organization. And I've told people right now what I would run on. I would run on the simplest issue you could imagine. You know what that would be? I would challenge the American people. I would challenge the American people to elect the first president to make history with me, and elect the first president since George Washington, the father of our country, who does not belong to a political party.
Wow, that would be good.
And it would be
and
that
where would
simple.
you?
And I really believe you could win on that. With public sentiment the way it is today, I think you could win. I think people would say, you know what? Let's try it. Let's elect the guy president that doesn't belong to these two gangs.
Well, people do, though. They do. They get shaped and formed into, predisposed. They believe that they need to have someone. Like, for example, it's hard to run for political office if you are an avowed atheist. It's ridiculous, but it seems to be the case. He has to be believing in God, and I'm just wondering how you would deal with because the first thing that's going to happen is if you start running, and the people that are going to try to smear you are going to be the people saying things like, "How can you let him be our president when he spends half the year in a different country?" You know, that kind of stuff.
So what? I'm working. You know how I counter that? You want to know how I counter that? I hope they say that, because then I will counter that by stating that I'm a job creator.
Right.
Because I don't even know how to use the internet, and I'm on it. So therefore, they have to hire people to do all that for me. That makes me a job creator, doesn't it?
Well, yeah,
right?
sure.
Okay, so I'm out creating jobs, and I'm also out helping illegal immigration, because I'm employing a group of Mexicans that otherwise might cross the border and come up there and take American jobs. But by keeping them employed down here in Mexico, they're not required to do that. No, pretty good answer, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to the debate.
See, the great thing for me is I tell the truth. And if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. And all I'm doing is out working, and it just happens that the best opportunity for me happened to be outside the country. What difference does that make? I'm still an American citizen. I still own a home there, and I still keep track of what's going on there because that's what I talk about on my show.
Sure. And people are, what kind of numbers are you getting now? Do you know? Do you have any idea of people watching this new venture?
I don't know. I'm off the grid. I don't keep track of that. I don't know.
All right. We're going to send you a counter or something. We'll get your web guy to tell you.
I just do the shows, and I have got a great time doing them. The great thing about this is nobody tells me what I can do. I don't have to deal with the FCC.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with anyone saying what subject I have to talk about. I talk about what I want to talk about. Well, this type of freedom is unheard of, and I love it because, all of these shows like on Fox and MSNBC and all that, all the topics come from upstairs,
Yeah.
And the reason you know that is because they're all talking about the same thing.
Well, yeah, every news team in the country is talking about the same thing. They're all getting their talking points.
You may get Bill O'Reilly talking about it and Rachel Maddow talking about it. They'll give it to you from their different perspective, but it'll be the same topic because it comes down from upstairs. They're told what to talk about.
Yeah. Well, that's a fact.
See,
So
I don't face that. Do this show, that's the remarkable thing, is that they've looked at me, and when I'm inquisitive about what about this, and they look at me and they go, well, if you want to do it, you do what you want. And
okay, so
I
want to ask you a little bit about that because you are a well-traveled personality and well-known personality, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the differences, and you've already cracked it open a touch, between your show that you had on True, The Conspiracy Theory, Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory, and your venture now in Mexico. And I just want to talk a little bit about the creative process for you. Obviously, it sounds a lot easier south of the border.
Well, I enjoyed doing conspiracy theory. We had fun doing it. I learned a great deal. I learned about conspiracies that I never knew anything about, that never entered into my life. And, I want to be honest with people. Do I believe them all? No. There's certain conspiracy theories that I did on the show that I don't, and I hope I was clear on that, because usually at the end of the show I was pretty clear on where I stood. I'm still open to some of them; they're intriguing, but I don't necessarily buy them all. And people need to understand that that's what the show was about. We showed the conspiracy theory from the conspiracy side because generally, when it involves the government, you're not going to get any cooperation from them in any way, shape, or form. So it's very difficult to show their side. See, the show morphed. We were at first going to show both sides and then allow the viewer to pick whichever one they chose to want to believe. And then we went totally to the conspiracy side because we couldn't get any cooperation if it was the government. I mean, if you ask the government about 9/11, nobody will talk to you about it. They'll simply refer you to the 9/11 Commission report.
Yeah, well, that's full of holes.
That's all you'll get. And if it isn't addressed, like they didn't cover Building 7, there are a lot of holes in that report of a lot of things that were not touched upon that should have been. And of course, you're not allowed to ask the government any of these other questions because they simply refer you to the 9/11 report, and that's as far as you're ever going to get with them. So we just decided to hell with them. We'll just show the conspiracy side. Everybody knows their side, so, let theirs stand, and we'll show the other side.
Okay. Well, give us an example of something that is a conspiracy that you investigated on your television show that you're now less than convinced is anything real.
Shape-changing lizards, people.
Changing lizard people. Okay.
Yes, the shape-changing reptiles.
The shapeshifters, right.
I mean, it was interesting to go down into the Apache Nation because the Apache people believe it. And they have every reason to, I guess, because they're very spiritual people and for whatever their reasoning is. But I don't buy it yet. They didn't prove it to me. I've never seen one. And David Icke, or whatever his name is, Ikes or whatever, he don't prove it to me either.
Oh, he was on the show?
Yeah, I had a big confrontation with him.
Oh, okay.
David Ikes or whatever, because he goes around the world and talks about this stuff all the time and makes a fortune at it.
Right. Okay, so you actually had him on the show. All right, that's interesting. I guess I haven't seen them all. That's good.
No,
so,
he and I he was somewhere, and we had a big confrontation where, in fact, he insulted me a great deal, and looked like he wanted to try to hit me or something. It never got to blows or anything, but he walked out, stormed out of the room, and although apparently we're back on better now, somebody talked to him since, and he doesn't hold a grudge, which is nice.
He does what?
He does not hold a grudge, so that's
he
nice.
doesn't. That's good.
Yeah, no, because he had some nice things to say about me lately, and so he doesn't hold a grudge, and I don't either. We just beg to differ on shape-changing reptiles.
As do many. Well, that's that they're running the government or something.
There's an example for you of one of the shows I did that I'm not convinced of.
Right.
But a lot of the other ones, time travel, I'm not totally convinced of.
Right.
I would need more. I need more to convince me fully that there is time travel going on.
I don't understand it. Yeah, every time I watch a movie, I kind of lose the thread, and I think, but if he went back there, then he wouldn't have met that guy, and then that guy wouldn't have happened. That kind of crazy. I lose the thread of the time travel. Well, was there anything else that you came across that you thought, I don't really believe in this one, but then by the end of it, you were convinced of it? So the exact opposite, say, of the lizard people story.
Well, no, not really. I stayed as open-minded as I could be, and they would come down with whatever the conspiracy was that we were going to go after, and basically I'd educate myself on it and just go into it with an open mind. And I can't sit there and I don't even remember all of them. We did 24 of them, and to tell you the truth, I can't even remember a great many of them today because we did 8 per year for 3 years, and and they got a little wilder towards the last year, because we had to reach a little deeper to get conspiracies that, weren't always as mainstream. But,
right.
Going out and investigating Area 51 was very interesting.
Yeah. Did you manage to get into it, or just up close to it?
No. They got the trucks pull up, and if you cross the line, they'll put us down in the dirt with weapons. I didn't feel like spending the night in jail, so no. I'll tell you what I would have done though. Had I still been governor, I would have crossed the line. Yeah.
Well, you did everything you could do,
because I think it would have been. Well, I think it would have been very interesting to see if they'd have put a governor face down on the ground with weapons.
Well, of all the governors I can think of, considering as outspoken as you are, it would probably be you. So,
I would be interested to see if they would do that. See, we tried to contact the governor of Nevada, and he wouldn't return our calls. I wanted to ask him, have you ever been in there? It's inside your state. Are you allowed to go in there?
What did he say?
Or are you not even allowed to acknowledge it? Because they don't even acknowledge the place exists. That's what's so absurd about it.
Yeah, we all know it exists.
Like when you go up to it, the signs there, it says if you want entrance, you got to contact the captain of the base, right? Which is the normal thing at all military bases. The only thing is, when you call the government doesn't acknowledge the base.
Right. That sounds like a fun segment on the show.
Well, I mean, how ridiculous is that? They tell you to contact the captain of the base, but yet they won't acknowledge the base exists.
Well, that sounds like government. Yeah, it sounds like I'm at the post office.
Yeah. That's true, so things like that, though, it's very intriguing to do it and very interesting to do.
So on your new show now, Off the Grid, you're on several days a week. How many days is that? 5 days?
I'm on Tuesday through Friday, 3 o'clock Eastern.
Okay. And you're coming up with ideas for segments. You're doing it on your own. This is obviously a completely different creative process than the conspiracy theory show, I'm guessing.
Oh, completely different.
Yeah. So tell me about it. You sound...
Although I will talk about, you can bet there'll be times that I'll talk about JFK stuff, and there'll be times that I'll talk about 9/11.
Sure.
Because I want to know things, and now that I have a mechanism where all these people can hear me, I'm going to throw out questions and see if somebody can give me answers.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I have not yet seen any of these, but I am definitely looking forward to it, and I want to see how it looks. I mean, I've seen some of it online, but I want to see it fresh and live. You do chats sometimes, don't you? People write in real time, and you're responding to questions. Obviously not on YouTube.
That all goes through the satellite and the people up in the States, and they read me the questions, and I respond to them.
Yeah, so it's real time, though.
I don't know. All I know is they read me the questions, and I respond to them.
Okay. I like your world.
There's a lot of stuff I'm happily ignorant of. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is I go through the command center up there, which is my man Alex. That's his name. And Alex will brief me on whatever the topic is, and he and if I need to know something, he's the guy that finds out for me.
I'm envious of your life.
See,
it sounds pretty good.
To learn all that shit from off the grid, so I got to have a checkpoint with Alex. He's up there, and then we connect into him, and we work together that way, and it's working out real well so far.
Yeah, it sounds good. Do you see this going for quite some time? Like you're setting a standard now?
I don't know, but it could well be my dream job. I mean, I get to live down here off the grid and make money. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you seem a little more buoyant about it than the other show. You seem really excited about this one.
Well, I was excited about the other show, too. Don't get me wrong. I was excited every year Conspiracy Theory got picked up. It was enjoyable. In fact, I feel bad because the last year I thought we had the best group. I really liked Sean Stone.
Oh, that was Oliver Stone's? Yeah.
Yeah, and my son. And so working and the opportunity to work with my son. I mean, I wish Conspiracy Theory would have gone on for another 3 or 4 years, but unfortunately it didn't.
Yeah. And there was one episode in there that was talked about as the reason why. I don't know if that's true or not. One of your episodes that is less easy to find than the others, something to do with more like the Orwellian Big Brother state. Apparently, that one was quite touchy. That's what the buzz is on the internet, anyway.
Oh yeah, well the one that was really touchy is when we found them that FEMA was building these detention camps.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one they erased off the internet. Mancow said it got erased off his own personal computer.
Yeah. So, it's been rumored that,
and there's a lot of controversy. Well, we also got read off on the congressional floor for that one.
Well, it's been talked about that that's the reason why
No, can you believe that?
Yeah.
No, can you believe that? A congressman actually stood up on the congressional floor and let us off because we discovered these camps FEMA's building.
Yeah. They always get upset about things that are not worth getting upset about. But I find that that's going to be something that I do believe, the FEMA camps. I mean, you're talking about it all the time. You see these plastic coffins or whatever they are lying around Atlanta or whatever. There's that stuff coming up all the time. And I don't know if it's not for some disaster. What are they for?
Yeah, precisely. Well, they also got angry at us because I guess they reported me to the Jewish whatever the thing that they do, because we showed a photograph of the Nazi ones and we showed a photograph of these, and they look identical. Oh,
the SS logo, the reverse.
No, the SS logo, nothing like that. No, just they have railroad coming into them, and the camps look identical.
Right. Well, yeah. Do you know anything more about that? Because I do. I mean, I could do a whole show on that topic, but I haven't thought about it lately.
Really. I mean, we did the show on it. I haven't investigated it any further.
Yikes. Okay. Well, I hope that's a mistake that we're all making. But again, I have to wonder what those things are there for if it's not for use.
Well, they told us what it's there for.
Oh.
They said it's there in case there's another disaster like Katrina. They'll have places to put people.
Plastic box. Okay.
That's their official explanation for it. I had a congressman from Florida that voted for it, called me. He was all irate. And he said all they're there for is so if we have another disaster, they got like 6 of them around different locations around the country. And he said they're there in case we need to house people there if there's big disasters. And I kind of thought, well, then why do they have barbed wire on top of them?
Yeah, to keep them in or out. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Governor, what are you going to do? Sorry, I just wanted to ask, what are you going to do when you're in Mexico for 4, 5, 6 months of the year, and then you come back to your home state of Minnesota? What do you do in the summertime, I suppose?
I don't know now what I'll do. I may not be back there at all. And who says I'll stay in Mexico? Maybe we'll do an off the grid from Cuba.
Yeah, they do pick on you. Where did the case go where you were concerned about getting the TSA agents fondling you at the airports? You were dead set against that. That was an example of you not taking their crap.
What happened there is I filed a federal lawsuit for my Fourth Amendment rights, the Fourth Amendment, which states the right reasonable search and seizure. And I contended that it was not reasonable to believe that Jesse Ventura is a threat. I've been flying for 30 years. I've been a mayor. I've been a governor. I'm an honorably discharged Navy veteran. I pose no threat. And I tried to go to court, and they threw it out of court, and the federal judge stated she didn't have jurisdiction. Now, that should scare people because this was a constitutional question. And what it means is this. They can do anything they want to you at an airport in the United States, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no place you can go to seek redress, nothing. And in fact, during my hearing, the federal judge said to me, Governor, can you cite a time you were abused at the airport? And my attorney stepped in and said, no, the governor can't do that because he's not allowed to know the rules. They fall under national security, which is outrageous. So in other words, they can do anything they want to you at an airport, and you have no way of knowing whether what they're doing is right or not, because you're not allowed to know the rules either.
That's unbelievable. What country is this again? Sorry?
That's in the United States of America.
Ah, okay. I thought you said East Germany, 1973.
There
okay.
you go. No, that's why I know you're being funny. That's why I refer to us as East Berlin on my show. I talk about the United States and refer to the United States now as East Berlin.
Well, you're doing the best you can with a media broadcasting effort to try to get people to realize what's going on. I feel sometimes that I'm preaching to the converted, and I wonder how you feel about that. Do you ever feel like you're reaching new people, or?
I'm sure I probably am to a certain amount, but remember, we are the new media. We are not the media that are owned. Right now, your mainstream media is nothing but a vocal box for the government. They're controlled. The corporations control both the government and the media. So our media, people like me and you and us, we're being listened to more and more and more because people are starting to smarten up and realize the stuff they're getting on, quote, mainstream media is not truthful.
And when he says me and you, he means me. I'm Jesse Ventura, and you're Alan Park, only he said it, so I'm Alan Park, and that was Jesse Ventura, and we're listening to Jesse Ventura. We've got some more time with him. We'll be right back. Great to have you on the show. Very exciting to get this new venture off the grid from Mexico, everybody. If you've not been to Mexico, now you can get a little taste of it. You really do shoot it in Mexico, right? I mean, a lot of people thought it was a joke, but you're actually down there to be able to be as free as you can and protect yourself from overt American criticism.
I'm down here because I have the opportunity to do it from here, and it's the hook of the show. We are off the grid. Like I've said, all we need is our solar batteries up and a clear shot at the satellite. And we can move around. We can do it from different locations. We can do it wherever we need to do it from. And then we, of course, connect off the satellite to a base up in the U.S., and then it goes out. That's where it goes out from.
That's fantastic. And what kind of topic? You're just talking about all the topic like geopolitics and chemtrails and vaccines and all the...
Well, I don't believe chemtrails. You know why I don't believe chemtrails?
Why is that?
Well, because if the people are doing them, aren't they affected too by them then? We all have to breathe the same air. And if they're up there dropping chemicals up there, then the people that are doing it are getting affected by them equally too, aren't they?
Well, that's true, but where it's very much uncontested, such as in the manufacture of automobiles, we're also... The rich, powerful executives and their sons are also breathing in the polluted air that we all have to share because of it.
Sure, no doubt about it.
So I think
I don't know.
I'm thinking they might be short-sighted.
Oh, maybe I am.
No, not you. I'm not calling you short-sighted. I'm just thinking that sometimes people are so greedy. Like, I would ask the same question. Why are you pulling out so much toxic oil from the Athabasca sands in northern Alberta? Don't you realize that your own immediate environment is toxifying and becoming in such a polluted state? But they don't care. They don't care that they can't drink the water. They just want to keep making the money. So I've seen a level of skepticism, negativity.
Sure. Well, like I said, they're breathing the same air I'm breathing because I haven't seen nobody walking around with a gas mask on. And so I figure, what the hell, if they're killing themselves and killing me too, then I guess we're all going down. But I don't buy it yet fully, Well,
the excuse that I'd heard that was semi-official was that the planet's heating up. And they're flying these reflective metals and particles to bounce the sun's damaging rays back out into space, and therefore buying us a little time. And, of course, we're just a bunch of little sheep, so they can't tell us that that's what they're doing, which then puts you in the position, well, is that really what they're doing, or is that just a cover story for what they're doing?
Well, who knows? One of the most abused things is the term national security. It's far too abused. They use it whenever they want to cover up wrongdoing. They use it probably when they need to use it, and they use it far too much when they don't need to use it. And it goes on, into infinity, it seems. My belief is after 3 or 4 years and the event's over, certainly there are cases where you have to be secretive, I guess, but as time goes by, that should be lifted once it no longer applies anymore. And it's very, very being abused by our country right now, and people should be concerned over the term national security because, it's just like the war's going on right now. How come no one asks when we fight the terrorists, what's causing the terrorists to hate us?
Well, I remember that during 9/11, and the commentators, and when I say that, I mean primarily Fox, they would get angry at people for looking to the root cause of what might be that attack.
The thing is, if you believe George Bush said they hate us because they're jealous of our freedoms. Well, then clearly, right now, my belief is my freedoms are being taken away by my own government. They're not being taken away by Al-Qaeda.
Yeah,
it's my
and they must love you now.
Taking away my freedoms, not some foreigner halfway around the world. You know what my belief is on the Middle East? I'll tell it to you just like this, real quick. Remember Christopher Columbus, that guy that sailed for the Anglo-Saxon world and discovered North America?
1492.
Right. What was he doing? He was defying death because at that time they said the world was flat and that he could fall off the earth. But he was willing to defy death because he was looking for another way to India. He didn't want to go through the Middle East. Now, if Columbus was willing to defy death to avoid the Middle East back in 1492, nothing's changed, has it?
Sounds the same. Mm-hmm.
Well, then why are we bothering with them? Pull out, close our embassies, and leave them unto themselves. And if our oil companies need to be over there, fine, let them hire Blackwater for their security instead of our military.
Yeah, well, they do use that trick, you know. That's like they get people to be okay with the fact. I mean, what is there, like 185 or so bases around the world in various countries of American bases that are never going to come down.
That's called an empire.
Yeah, and it's also called an irritant.
Rome had one, Great Britain had one, and they all fell, didn't they?
Well, it's an irritant. I mean, people want to fight against that. It's get out of my face. You know, just let's live our lives.
Well, the point is that we need to get out of the Middle East. Who cares about the Middle East? I don't care about it. If they want to wage war on each other for 1,000 years, that's their business.
Yeah, I don't understand the amount of money that goes into propagating that. I mean, it seems like a lot of money that's used to keep the bases open and funneling money into countries in the Middle East.
Anyway, I'll tell you another. I'll tell you one that I've read about now, a little off the subject, but something that I kind of believe now. I don't believe that oil is a fossil fuel.
Okay. What would it be?
I don't believe it because they say that it comes from fossils like vegetation and dinosaurs and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Soviets have never had an oil shortage because they do what's called deep well drilling, and they go down real deep. How could fossils get down that deep?
Yeah, well, lava, I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Okay, wait, here's the other part. In World War II, we could not do an oil embargo against the Nazis because the Nazis had already started creating synthetic oil. Now, there is nothing that says you need fossil to make synthetic oil. It's not part of the ingredient.
Right.
Like put it into like water. H2O. You need 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, and you get water. Well, synthetic oil doesn't require
oil.
No, it doesn't require some vegetation and dinosaurs. It's not part of the equation.
Right. Well,
so
and it's supposed to be the better oil too.
Well, if it's not required to make oil synthetically, then how do they say it's part of it? See, I believe oil is the Earth's blood.
Okay, so, yeah, like a lubricant for the inner shifting of plates and et cetera?
No, it's blood. You have blood. You can go down to the blood bank and you can give a quart of blood and your body will replace it, right?
Okay, so the blood of the Earth.
I think that the Earth is a gigantic organism and that oil is its blood.
Well, that brings up a lot of a lot of crazy images in my head anyway. I mean...
But think about it. It's not required to use... to make synthetic oil, it is not required to use fossil.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point.
And the Soviets drill so deep. There's no fossils down there. How would the oil get there?
Mm-hmm. Similar to the drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, the deep water drilling that turned into the disaster that was.
Sure. How the hell could there be? How could there be fossils down there?
Yeah, beneath the ground of, however deep that ocean is and the Gulf is there, yeah.
Not even the ocean, even on land. The Soviets do it on land. They go down miles. There ain't no fossils down there.
Have you spoken to any, I'm not a scientist, have you, tell me.
The oil companies paid off all the scientists to say it was a fossil fuel and we only got a finite amount. I was alive in the 70s when we had our first oil scare. They said we were running out of oil. Well, it's 2014. We're using more oil than we've ever used, and we aren't even close to running out.
Yeah, that's a good point. So when you see a movie that deals with that, like, the end of oil or the end of, there's a documentary called The End of Oil and things like that. These people are either convinced that they're telling the truth or are they some kind of shadow propaganda arm?
Well, if you got paid off and you work for the oil companies and they pay your salary, you're going to come up with the results they want. And I think that that's what they've done. They've paid off scientists to say it's a fossil fuel, that there's only a finite amount. That way they control the price.
Well, that would do it.
Sure it would.
Yeah.
Absolutely it would. Now, we could be in trouble if I'm correct and the earth produces oil. Well, we could be in trouble when we start taking more than the earth can produce.
Well, are we at that level, or how would we even know that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would discover that. I don't know. See, the other reason, okay, look at Saudi Arabia. They're oil rich. I think it's simply because the oil gets closest to the surface there, and it's the easiest and cheapest to extract it there.
Okay. Yeah, because there's less resistance to...
Well, let me throw it. What the hell fossils could there be out in the Arabian desert?
Well, it presupposes, if I may say, that to answer your question, I mean, they're very good questions, but it presupposes that the Earth itself hasn't already been through some ridiculous pole shift or some kind of tectonic shift where that's why the dinosaurs and et cetera are so deeply buried. Has anyone thrown that at you?
Well, they wouldn't be that deep because the Earth hasn't gotten that big. Is the Earth growing as we talk? No.
Can we get someone
Is it getting bigger?
Can we get someone on your show to debate this? Some supposed scientist?
I don't know.
Because I'm not.
The guy that wrote this book actually is from Harvard, and I read it because I do a lot of reading down here. And I was skeptical when I picked it up and read it, but when I got done reading his book and he talked about it and put it into common sense, and I started thinking, this guy's right. Because they told us in the 70s we were running out of oil.
Yeah, the energy crisis. Sure.
Yeah, and that was to jack the prices up.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. On the notion of running and parties and control, and if you were able to run as the president, if everything was streamlined for you to be able to do that, what I think is that there's a very small percentage of people in the world who have been, unfortunately, negatively affected with a condition known as psychopathy. And a very small percentage of us, we should feel good that there are so few of us that are that crazy. But unfortunately, I believe most of those people hold very powerful jobs and positions around the world. Now, if I'm right about that, and I think I am. I think if you look at any major elected official's record, you'll see that they do horrible things against their people and the betterment of the planet. But let me ask you this. Don't you think that if you're a person who's has such influence as to lead nations and get people to, enact laws and to lead like that we should require there should be some kind of bona fide, open, psychological test that the public can see, because the last thing we need in power are psychopaths, and I'm afraid we are overrun with them. Would you support any kind of measure to get any kind of test like that in place before the person even ran? Because if we had that in place, we wouldn't have even needed to look at the entire Republican convention last time.
No, because ultimately it's our fault.
It's our fault.
Yeah, we elect them.
Yeah, but I mean, should we vet them first?
That's where the rubber meets the road right there. Is the fact that we elect them. So it's our fault ultimately, because we're not being vigilant citizens. Remember what Tom Jefferson and people like that said. They said the only way the republic can survive is for the citizens to be vigilant. The citizens have not been vigilant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We do. We get out there. We say we're going to add a new condition. If you're running for a powerful office, then you need to have your head checked, and we need to know the results. There's too many nut bars out there running things.
But how can, wait. How can you do that when you have to elect the people that would have to enact that law? And as long as you continue to elect Democrats and Republicans, you stand no chance at all of getting that enacted. So you have to. I'll tell you something that you could do far better than that, much quicker and easier.
Let's have it.
Why is it that we allow, and this could be done locally, why is it that we allow party names on an election ballot?
Yeah. Why? To make people remember.
Put just the name of the candidate.
Yeah.
Put just the name of the candidate. Then it becomes imperative for the citizen to educate themselves. What does John Smith stand for? So it goes back to the citizen again. The point being, it's our fault. And how you can't implement a test like that unless you get somebody to implement it as law. And the only way you're going to do that, you have to break the cycle before you can even do that.
Well, let's get you elected as the president. You could say the second thing I'm going to do is enact this new law where, and I'm going to take a psychopathic test right now.
Wait. It's time for Jesse to give you True Government 101. Governors and presidents can't make any laws according to the way the country's set up. Only the Congress or the legislature can make laws. The president or the governor can veto them. But I could not make one law when I was governor. Likewise, the president should not be able to make one law. That's how the checks and balances work. The problem is we're not enforcing the checks and balances.
The problem is we're out of time. That's the problem. This has been a fantastic conversation, but I want to hear more.
Well, we'll do it again sometime, but I got to change locations and wait for my next call, so you have a good one.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on again.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. Please offer comments or complaints by emailing conspiracyqueries@gmail.com or on Twitter @con_queries or at our website, conspiracyqueries.com. Thanks for listening.